Hello everybody, this is Refresh and I'm here to take a look at Sleeve King's premium standard European card sleeves. These are for cards sized 59 by 92 millimeters and these are clear. They have been designed as a replacement for Fantasy Flight Supply's standard Euro sleeves, which Fantasy Flight Supply is no longer going to be producing these, and they are of a very particular size in terms of their dimensions. And so those of you who are looking to further sleeve games that you've already sleeved by these Fantasy Flight Supply sleeves, or those of you who are looking to replace broken sleeves that have worn overuse, these may be an option for you, but we are going to find out if they actually are an option. One pack of these sleeves will cost you $2.50 MSRP, which is 5 cents per sleeve, which is slightly less than the average for sleeves of this size, being a bit more in the value realm of these sleeves. And that is a pretty good deal. Let's go ahead and take a look at what's inside. As you can see, these sleeves are smooth and glossy on both sides. Now we're going to count to make sure that there are 55 sleeves here, and just to note, you get 55 sleeves, not 50, so it is a slightly better deal than perhaps other sleeves of this approximate price range. Alright, we got 57 sleeves in here, so there are a little bit more than I anticipated, but that is never a bad thing to end up with more sleeves than advertised. It's always worse to be short. And so you get what you pay for, and sometimes you might get extra. I am a little concerned that the extra means that the quality control process isn't great, but again, if the error is in your favor, it is not the worst thing in the world. Now to check the thickness, 50 sleeves comes in at 1.1 centimeters. So this means that each sleeve is 202 microns thick, or 101 microns each face, and that is just slightly thicker than the average sleeve of this size. And that might be a problem for some of you who are hoping that these are consistent and uniform throughout. And so that's something that you're going to have to pay attention to, because that means that these sleeves may take just up a little bit more thickness than the average Fantasy Flight sleeve and the average sleeve of this general thickness. I don't know if this is an issue at the factory and the production line, or perhaps I just got a miscut, or perhaps I was unlucky and I got a misproduced set of sleeves. But let's hope that the sleeves are more consistent in terms of the rest of the elements of their production. Now to check the dimensions, these sleeves are 62 millimeters wide by 96 millimeters tall. And now to compare them to a Fantasy Flight sleeve. Putting them next to each other, it seems as though they are an exact fit to each other. You can't really tell which is which, and so I think that in terms of dimensions, these are going to be a perfect match for your Fantasy Flight sleeved cards. In terms of thickness, these are a little bit thicker. Now I'll see how a card fits. I have one Dominion copper here. We're going to stick it inside. It is a pretty snug fit around the sides. There's just a little bit of play, but as usual per Fantasy Flight style sleeves, there is a significant amount of distance between the top edge of the card and the opening of the sleeve, which will lead to a pretty good amount of protection, but at the same time that means that the sleeves are quite visible on your cards, and some of you won't like the aesthetics of that. Whether you prefer this extra lip or not is going to be up to you, but now you can see what it looks like with the card in the sleeve. Now it's time for the sleeving test. I'm going to sleeve these 45 coppers in 45 of these sleeves and see how long it takes. Ready, set, go. Okay, that took 1 minute and 52 seconds to sleeve these 45 cards. That is a very fast speed of 2.62 seconds per card sleeve. That is actually the fastest of the standard Euro size sleeves that I've tested. So I think that this is pretty good. I did notice that because of the tightness of these sleeves, which matches that of Fantasy Flight Supply, there was a bit of resistance sliding the cards in, so you will have to make sure to be careful as you slide the cards in. But despite that it is not the fastest sleeving process, it is faster comparatively than its peers, and so I did appreciate the overall process there. Now that these cards have been sleeved, let's go ahead and check for their consistency and their uniformity out of the pack. The sleeves are entirely consistent on the sides, and there is no significant variation in terms of the lengths of the sleeves on the tops. And taking a look at the sleeves, there is They are entirely uniform and consistent from sleeve to sleeve. There are no issues with blemishes as well, so I think the premium label holds. There is a slight noticeable line that you can see across the sleeves due to the production, but this is not going to be an issue since it seems also consistent from sleeve to sleeve. Now it's time for the shuffle test. I am going to shuffle this sleeve deck of Dominion Coppers 100 times and see how long it takes. Ready, set, go. Okay, it took 1 minute and 53 seconds to shuffle this deck 100 times. And that is a pretty fast shuffle speed of 1.17 seconds per shuffle. This was despite the fact that I found that these sleeves are a little grabby along the edges, and so sometimes when you are shuffling the cards and you pull them against each other, the edge of the sleeve where the seal is will sometimes hook onto the edge of another sleeve and they'll pull another sleeve with it. This caused me to drop some sleeves a few times while shuffling. And I also felt that the shuffle feel was a little bit bouncy in terms of the thickness of the edges being a little bit thicker, which caused sometimes the sleeved cards to bounce against each other as you tried to put the deck into the other half of the deck. And overall, even though that this was a relatively fast shuffle, I found that the smoothness of the shuffle wasn't that impressive, even though I will say that if you are looking for decent handling cards, these are still it. They're still relatively easy to shuffle. It's just these little things sometimes make this experience less than ideal. Now that I have shuffled this deck, let's go ahead and take a look at this card to see if there is any significant wear. Alright, it looks like these sleeves are pretty pristine even after the initial handling. I didn't notice any split corners or bent corners, and so that is pretty good. That means the sleeves will hold up at least as well as most of the other sleeves of this type. And I also noticed that there wasn't any significant denting or scuffing or creasing in any of the sleeve surfaces either, so I think that these are going to last pretty well as far as sleeves of this type go. So I think that these sleeves really are able to carry that premium name that has been put onto the sleeves by Sleeve Kings. Now it's time for the shake test. I have stacked these sleeved cards into a deck and I'm going to shake the table they're on for a couple of seconds to see how well the deck holds up. Ready, set, go. So the deck didn't even budge, and I found that to be a pretty good sign that the deck is going to hold up well under the shaking that might occasionally happen to a table. Next, I'm going to do the draw test. I'm going to draw 3 cards off the top and see how well the deck holds together. Ready, set, go. Great, the deck handled well. The cards didn't even move the other cards as I picked cards off the top, and so I think that this is going to make for a very well-functioning deck of cards. And so these are sleeves that you will happily use for your decks. So what do I think about Sleeve Kings' premium standard European card sleeves? I think that they do exactly what you expect them to do in terms of being able to replace your Fantasy Flight sleeves. They have the same dimensions, and so they'll fit in right there if you are looking for sleeves of this kind. I think the quality is there. I think the price is pretty good, all things considered, given the quality that you are getting. These are slightly less expensive than even Fantasy Flight's original, and you get 5 extra sleeves per pack, and so that is also a bonus. I think that they handle quite well. In fact, they handle along the better edge of sleeves of this size, including the sleeving process as well as the shuffling process. I do think that there is a little bit of concern in terms of their thickness being slightly thicker than the advertised 100 microns thick, and as well as there being 2 extra sleeves in this particular pack. However, despite that, I do think that these are minor concerns, and I think that those of you who are looking to sleeve your cards with some premium sleeves, Sleeve Kings' premium standard European card sleeves are certainly a type of card sleeve to consider, especially if you don't mind the extra distance between the opening of the sleeve and the top edge of the card. If you have any experiences with these sleeves, let us know in the comments below. If you have any experience with these sleeves or other sleeves of this size, I have surveys in the description box below that you can take and share your experiences, and that will be posted at the Innate Games' resource page. If you found this video helpful, hit the like button for me. If you would like to see more of these videos, you can hit subscribe. This was Refresh. Thanks for watching. I will see you next time.